The Arts Come to Life, Ben and Wamu, 1917 to 1994.
Saint Scholastica, also known as Santa Scholastica in Italian, was a devout Christian and the twin sister of Saint Benedict of Nursia. She is revered as a saint in the Catholic Church and is celebrated on February 10th. While historical records about her life are sparse, her legacy is deeply intertwined with that of her brother, Saint Benedict, and the founding of the Benedictine order. Scholastica was born around the year 490 AD in Nursia, a town in central Italy. She and her twin brother, Benedict, were born into a noble family. They were brought up in the Christian faith by their parents, Eupropius and Obontantia. From a young age, Scholastica demonstrated a strong inclination toward a life of devotion and prayer. As she grew older, she became increasingly drawn to a life dedicated to God. Inspired by her brother's example, she chose to embrace a monastic life. Scholastica's most significant contribution to Christianity lies in her close relationship with her brother, Saint Benedict, and her influence on the establishment of the Benedictine order. Benedict, after a period of seeking solitude in the mountains, eventually founded the famous Monte Cassino monastery. Scholastica, feeling called to a similar vocation, established her own monastery nearby at Riola, although historical accounts differ on whether she was a nun or a consecrated virgin. Despite their commitment to monastic life, Scholastica and Benedict maintained a close bond. They would meet regularly to discuss matters of spirituality and faith. Legend has it that once a year they would meet at a house near the monastery to spend the day together in prayer and conversation. One of the most famous stories associated with Scholastica involves her fervent prayer for an extension of her time with Benedict during one of their annual meetings. When Benedict insisted it was time to depart, Scholastica prayed for God to intervene. Immediately, a severe thunderstorm broke out, preventing Benedict from leaving. Seeing this as a sign from God, Benedict stayed and continued their conversation. It is said that Scholastica's faith and devotion were so strong that God answered her prayer by sending the storm. Scholastica died shortly after this miraculous event around the year 547 AD. Her death marked the end of her earthly journey, but not the end of her influence. She is venerated as a saint in the Catholic Church, with her feast day celebrated on February 10th. Scholastica's life exemplifies the power of prayer, the importance of familial bonds, and the dedication to a life of spiritual devotion. Her legacy continues to inspire Christians around the world, particularly those in the Benedictine tradition. Throughout history, Saint Scholastica has been portrayed in various artworks and honored in numerous religious institutions. Her story serves as a reminder of the profound impact individuals can have through their faith and devotion to God. And for those wondering, is the Scholastic Book Fair named after Saint Scholastica? The answer is no. The Scholastic Book Fair is not named after Saint Scholastica. The Scholastic Corporation, which organizes the book fairs, was founded by Maurice R. Robinson in 1920. The company initially focused on publishing magazines for schools and children, and eventually expanded into book publishing and educational materials. This book Scholastic Book Fair is an event held in schools where students have the opportunity to browse and purchase books from a curated selection. It aims to promote literacy and the love of reading among children. While the name Scholastic may sound similar to Scholastica, there's no direct connection between the two. The term scholastic generally refers to matters related to education, learning, or academia, whereas Scholastica specifically refers to Saint Scholastica, the twin sister of Saint Benedict of Nursia, known for her dedication to religious life and prayer. Here's a general idea of the origins, history, spirituality, organization, and contribution to Christianity of the Benedictine order. The Benedictine order traces its roots back to its founder, Saint Benedict of Nursia, who lived in the 6th century AD. Born into a noble family in central Italy around 480 AD, Benedict experienced a profound spirituality call and eventually chose a life of solitude and asceticism. He withdrew to Subiaco, where he lived as a hermit for several years, dedicating himself to prayer, meditation, and fasting. Benedict's reputation for holiness attracted disciples and eventually founded several monasteries in the region, including the famous Monte Cassino. Around 529 AD, Benedict composed the Rule of Saint Benedict, a guidebook for monastic living based on principles of humility, obedience, stability, and balance. This rule became the foundation to the Benedictine way of life and had a profound impact on Western monasticism. Over the centuries, the Benedictine order spread throughout Europe, establishing monasteries and convents in various regions. Monks and nuns following the rule of Saint Benedict played a vital role in Christianization and cultural development of medieval Europe. They were centers of learning, hospitality, agriculture, and craftsmanship, contributing to the preservation and transformation of knowledge and cultural during times of turmoil and instability. The Benedictine spirituality is characterized by commitment to ora e labora, or prayer and work. Central to Benedictine life is the pursuit of holiness through a balanced and disciplined routine of communal prayer, meditation, manual labor, study, and service to others. The rule of Saint Benedict emphasizes the importance of humility, obedience, stability, hospitality, and essential virtues for monastic life. Benedictine spirituality encourages a deep sense of reverence for God's presence in all aspects of life, fostering an attitude of mindfulness, gratitude, and simplicity. Monks and nuns strive to cultivate a spirit of detachment from worldly possessions and ambitions, seeking instead to find fulfillment in a life dedicated to seeking God and serving others. The Benedictine order is organized and autonomous around monasteries and convents, each governed by an abbot or abbess who is elected by the community. The abbot or abbess serves as a spiritual leader and shepherd for the community, responsible for guiding its members in their pursuits of holiness and adherence to the rule of Saint Benedict. Monastic life is characterized by strong emphasis on communal living, with monks and nuns sharing all things in common, supporting one another in their spiritual journey. Each monastery or convent follows its own unique customs and traditions, also adhering to the fundamental principles outlined in the Rule of Saint Benedict. The Benedictine order has made significant contributions to Christianity and Western civilizations throughout its history. Monks and nuns of the Benedictine tradition have played a key role as scholars, educators, theologians, missionaries, artists, and social reformers. Benedictine monasteries served as centers of learning and scholarship during the Middle Ages, preserving and copying ancient manuscripts, cultivating intellectual inquiries, and advancing knowledge in various fields, including theology, philosophy, science, and literature. Monks such as Bede the Venerable, Anselm of Canterbury, and Edelgard of Bingen are renowned for their contributions to theology, philosophy, and music. Additionally, Benedictine monasteries played a crucial role in evangelization pagan Europe, establishing missions and promoting Christian values and ethics. They also provided social services, including education, healthcare, and hospitality, caring for the sick, poor, and marginalized members of society. The Benedictine order stands as a testament to the enduring power and relevance of Saint Benedict's vision for monastic life. For over 15 centuries, monks and nuns of the Benedictine tradition have lived out their commitment to prayer, work, community, and hospitality, embedding the timeless values of humility, obedience, and service to God and neighbor. As custodians of a rich spiritual heritage, Benedictines continue to inspire and enrich the lives of countless individuals around the world, serving as beacons of light and hope in an ever changing world. Saint Scholastica is typically depicted in Christian iconography in a manner similar to other saints and religious figures. While there may not be any distinctive iconography elements associated with her compared to more widely recognized saints, there are several common motifs and symbols used to represent her in art. The nun's habit. As Scholastica was believed to have lived a monastic life, she's often depicted wearing the traditional habit of a nun or religious sister. This typically consists of a long robe, often black or dark brown, with a veil covering her head. Book or scroll. Like many saints, Scholastica is often shown holding a book or scroll, symbolizing her dedication to prayer, study, and devotion to God. This attribute emphasizes her commitment to the monastic life and her pursuit of spiritual knowledge. Praying hands. Given Scholastica's reputation for devout prayer, she's frequently depicted with her hands clasped together in prayer or raised in supplication to heaven. This gesture underscores her deep faith and her reliance on prayer as a means of communion with God. A dove. In some depictions, Scholastica may be accompanied by a dove representing the Holy Spirit. This is particularly associated with the legendary story of the miraculous rainstorm, where a dove is said to have caused the storm in response to Scholastica's prayers. Stormy skies. In scenes depicting the miracle of the rainstorm, Scholastica and Saint Benedict may be shown together with a stormy sky in the background. This symbolizes the divine intervention attributed to Scholastica's prayers, demonstrating her closeness to God and her ability to work miracles through her faith. A crown or halo. As recognized saint in the Catholic Church, Scholastica is often depicted with a halo or crown above her head, signifying her holiness and her status as a saint in heaven. While these are some of the common elements found in depictions of Saint Scholastica, variations may exist based on artists' interpretation and cultural traditions. Overall, representations of Scholastica in iconography emphasize her piety, devotion to prayer, and her role as a holy woman within the Christian faith. Saint Scholastica is primarily associated with one notable miracle, which we spoke about previously, and is commonly referred to as the miracle of the rainstorm. This miraculous event is recounted in various hagiographical sources and has become a central part of Scholastica's legacy. Here's a general retelling of the miracle. The most famous miracle attributed to Saint Scholastica occurred during one of her annual meetings with her twin brother, Saint Benedict. According to tradition, Scholastica and Benedict, who both lived a devoutly religious life, would meet once a year at a house near Benedict's monastery to discuss spiritual matters and spend time in prayer together. On one occasion, as evening approached and their time together was drawn to a close, Scholastica implored Benedict to stay longer so they could continue their conversation and prayer. However, Benedict was adamant that he needed to return to the monastery, and it was against the rule of his order for monks to spend the night away from the monastery. Undeterred, Scholastica turned to prayer and asked God to grant her request. Suddenly, a fierce thunderstorm erupted with lightning flashing and rain pouring down in torrents. The storm was so severe that Benedict and his companions were unable to leave the house. Recognizing the extraordinary nature of the storm, Benedict realized that it was a sign from God and exclaimed, God forgive you, sister. What have you done? Scholastica replied, I asked a favor of you, and you refused. I asked it of God, and he granted it. In the face of the storm's intensity and unable to travel, Benedict and his companions spent the entire night in prayer and conversation with Scholastica. It is said that during their time together, they engaged in profound discussions and spiritual matters and the mysteries of God. The following day, after the storm had subsided, Benedict departed from his sister and returned to his monastery. 3 days later, Scholastica passed away, and it believed that her soul ascended to heaven in the form of a dove, symbolizing her purity and holiness. The miracle of the rainstorm is often cited as an example of Scholastica's deep faith and her close relationship with God. It underscores her belief in the power of prayer and her ability to intercede on behalf of others. The story has been celebrated and retold throughout the centuries, contributing to Scholastica's status as a revered saint within the Catholic Church. The process of canonization or formal recognition of an individual as a saint in the Catholic Church typically involves several stages. However, it's important to note that for early saints like Scholastica, the process might not have followed the structured stages we see in modern times. Nevertheless, here's a general outline of the process of sainthood and a discussion on how it might have applied to Saint Scholastica. The first step towards sainthood is often the declaration of the individual as a servant of God. This typically occurs at the diocese level, where the local bishop initiates an investigation into the person's life, virtue, and reputation for holiness. In the case of Saint Scholastica, her reputation for sanctity likely led her being recognized as a servant of God early in the process. After the initial investigation, if the evidence supports the person's reputation for holiness, the next step is the declaration of venerable by the Pope. This declaration signifies that the individual has lived a life of heroic virtue. Again, for early saints like Scholastica, this step might have been less formalized, but her recognition as venerable figure would have been established through her exemplary life as a nun and her dedication to prayer and piety. Beatification. The beatification process typically involves the recognition of a miracle attributed to the intercession of the individual. This miracle must be verified through rigorous investigation by the Church. If the miracle is confirmed, the individual is declared as blessed by the Pope, and they are given a feast day to be celebrated locally. In the case of Scholastica, her miracle of the rainstorm, along with other reported miracles, would have played a role in her beatification. The final stage in the process is canonization, where the Pope officially declares the individual to be a saint. This declaration usually requires the confirmation of a second miracle attributed to the intercession of the individual. Once canonized, the saint is venerated by the Universal Church, and their feast day is celebrated worldwide. While there are not many records of specific miracles attributed to Scholastica, her formal canonization, her widespread veneration, and the recognition of her holiness by the Church has solidified her status as a saint. Saint Scholastica's journey to sainthood likely followed a less formalized process compared to modern times, given the historical context in which she lived. Nevertheless, her reputation for holiness, her exemplary life as a nun, and the miracles attributed to her have led her to recognition led her to led her recognition as a saint in the Catholic Church, with her feast day celebrated on February 10th.